There's Mary.
Hi there, everyone. People are joining us. We've got 15 participants thus far, so we're just going to wait a couple more minutes. Okay, great. So I guess it is 9:02, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. My name is Raquel Rose. I'm lucky enough to get to be the new superintendent here in the Kentfield School District. So far, we have about 28 people joining us this morning, and we're excited to welcome our kindergarten families to today's stakeholder information session. So before we get started, you may notice that Marianne Spitzer, the new principal for Basage, is not here. What happened is on her travels to work today, there was an accident. And so she's running a little late, but she will be joining us shortly. So I'm gonna go ahead and have our new assistant principal, Wendy Holmes, introduce herself.
I made it.
Oh, great. Okay, wait a second. There we go. So as you can see, Marianne just joined us. So I'll go ahead and punt it over to Marianne to introduce herself, and then we'll go from there.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to meet with this group of parents because I feel like we're kind of in the same boat, new to Basage, and that's exciting. And I just want to say that have been so impressed by the Basage teachers and staff, and I've been enjoying working with them this summer. They're hardworking and smart, and it's just been very fun. And then the welcome from the community has been so wonderful too, and I really appreciate that. And so I'm excited we'll be starting our kindergarten year together. And so Wendy, did you already introduce yourself?
Can't seem to hear Wendy, unfortunately.
Yeah, she said she's going to exit and come back. It's weird because she's in the room next to me, and I'm like, I can hear her, but not through the computer. She'll
Okay.
come back. And then we're lucky enough today to have Talia with us, and she is one of the grade level coordinators of the kindergarten team, and she's going to introduce herself and also the other parts of her team.
Hi, I'm Talia Milano, and I'm one of the kindergarten teachers this year, and I'm so excited to be here, even though I can't see you guys, but I know that you're there, and that's exciting. So like I said, I'm one of the kindergarten teachers, and on my team, we have Elizabeth Peterson and Claire Adams, and we have another teacher that's going to be lucky enough to join our team too.
Thanks, Talia.
I think, can you hear me now? Excellent. So glad. I'm sorry about that technical difficulty. Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm Wendy Holmes, the new assistant principal here at Basage. I'm also the assistant principal at Kent, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joining the Kentfield community, be part of this wonderful team of teachers and staff I've got to know this summer as we're building our reopening plans for the school year. And I am absolutely delighted to meet you, meet your children, and provide a really rich support so that you can feel well supported this school year. And we are looking forward to meet you soon.
Thanks, Wendy. All right, so before we get into sharing some more information about our tentative schedule, I wanted to give you like the framework and understanding of what we're using to create the schedule. So on the left side of your screen, you're going to see our 4 focus areas from our strategic plan, and that is physical and social emotional well-being. We want to promote high quality academic instruction. while eliminating the opportunity and achievement gap, optimize our financial and human resources, and also think boldly. And I love that one because, as you know, we have to really think boldly in this time when we're trying something new and different altogether. And as far as the framework that we need to follow and that helps us guide our decision making around creating a distance learning schedule for kids is in the yellow box there. And the first one in caps, so important, is connectedness. And I think that a lot of us are feeling that disconnect during this time. And that's one of the things that we really want to focus on during distance learning is how do we make connections with kids, families, helping kids make connections with each other. And so that's something that's really important to us. And then we have some state regulations that we need to follow, and there's required daily minutes. And so we'll no longer have the shortened Mondays or Wednesdays because each day has a required amount of minutes of instruction. And so as you can see there, kindergarten has 180 minutes, which is 3 hours. First through third is 230, and fourth is 4th through 12th is, 230, and 4th through 12th is 240. And then we also need to really focus on our essential standards and our core subject matter. And so we're really thinking about literacy and numeracy when we're talking about the core subjects. And yet we definitely want to continue supporting students and families with enrichments. We have a great rich enrichment program here at Basich. And so we'll do a lot of integrated approach and inquiry while we're focusing on those essential standards to make sure your child is at grade level standards in those important areas. And then another one that's really important is, as well as connectedness, is the social emotional well-being of our students, as well as developing strategies for dealing with decision making and problem solving and their feelings daily. And so that's a high priority to embed social emotional learning and strategies in all that we do. And then finally, we are in distance learning now, but we really want to create a schedule that can be flexible and transition easily into in-person instruction. So these are all the things we took into consideration when creating our schedule. So as you see here, these are tentative schedules. We have Basich on the left and Kent on the right. So I'm going to focus on the Basich schedule, but you can see that they mirror each other. We're still going to have the same school start of the day, 8:10. So when we're thinking about when we go into in-person, we'll have time in the day to do some staggered starting. But in distance learning, the instruction will start at 8:30. And for kindergarten, as you see, because they have a shortened day, it'll be 8:30 to 12, which is 3.5 hours. So we have time for breaks and things like that. First grade is 8:30 to 1. First through fourth is 8:30 to 1. And then when the kids leave, that's lunch. And so that's preparing for when we're in person, we'll have a grab and go lunch system. And so lunch is for half an hour. And then we're encouraging, right now we're developing for the afternoon, exploratory learnings and continued enrichment activities, possibly clubs, things like that. Classes where students can continue their education, time for homework. So you can imagine that students might still be involved with their academic day after lunch also. But during that time, that's when we have time for teachers to collaborate and plan. And the rationale around this is that this is something new for all of us, and our teachers really need time to work together, to talk about students, to create support systems for them. And so we'll be collaborating and planning in the afternoons with our teachers. So that's the general skeleton of a schedule. So let's step into what we think a kinder schedule might look like. So this is definitely a sample schedule, but the idea would be that kids would wake up, we would take attendance. 8:30 is the morning meeting. So, and that would be a time where the kids are present on a Zoom call with their kindergarten teacher. And that would be every day. The yellow ones, are every day at that time. The green ones, they are the instructional blocks, and they could be moved around depending on how the kinder teachers feel about it. But whole group instruction as well as small group supports, as you can see. And so there's 4 blocks of that. So you can imagine that during those times, there will be some active instruction by the kindergarten teacher. And we also really want to acknowledge that we might need to work with kids in smaller groups. So it could be in breakout rooms, or it could be assigned to a certain amount of time in a small group to support some prior learning in the morning or some extra extension activities. And so we're building into the schedule some flexibility to meet the needs of all our students. And so you can see that there's a couple breaks in there, and then the end of the day is noon. And so it's 8:30 to 12 is the general amount of time. But know that in those green blocks, that is where our live active instruction will be fit in. And so I know that's a lot different than the spring. And you'll know that every day that your child will have contact with their teacher with some live instruction. And Wendy is going to share with you some of the things that might happen during those green blocks. And I'm sure your heads are thinking, what's this going to look like? So Wendy will share that in the next slide.
Thanks, Marianne. I'll just give a kind of a taste of the kinds of learning activities or experiences that your kindergarten student, your kindergarten child will be having during distance learning. I just want to note that our learning plan that we've developed really allow for a nice fluid transition or ease of transition from distance learning to the opportunity to when we have the opportunity to step back into potentially in-person learning or hybrid learning. So we've built that plan to be able to have that fluidity. And our plan is really built on approach of knowing that our students learn in different ways, and then we want to touch on those different modalities for our students, your children, to engage in learning of the kindergarten content, applying what they're learning, being able to have conversations and discussions with each other and with their teacher, as well as with you, integrating movement and other active learning activities, as well as opportunities to be creative. And on the right, you can see there's a list of the different kinds of activities and strategies that your child may be engaged in throughout their learning time during the week. For sure, whole group and small group live instruction. So that's like a Zoom meeting where students are meeting as a class, the teacher is sharing the lesson for the period, the instructional block, and then students are engaging in maybe some small group work or working with their teacher. So that is definitely going to be part of your child's learning experience. Other kinds of things that they'll also experience is opportunities to have screen-free exploratory time, the second bullet. So we really know the value of having that kind of those hands-on experiences. So we'll integrate those as well. So that might be a little bit of time that students are doing some shared reading with you. They might be working on their letters or building words. They may have time to do some exploratory work, let's say backyard science, other ways that they're having discussions or playing math games with you. Really want to make sure that there's a blend of experiences. And throughout the day, there's multiple different ways for your children to interact with each other and another adult. It could be a paraeducator, it could be your child's teacher or other support person who's supporting them in small group work to deepen their learning and offer additional help with something that your child may be having a little more difficult time grasping. So all of this happens in either asynchronous or synchronous learning modalities. So synchronous meaning that the students and teacher are all learning together, and asynchronous that the learning might be done at different times or in different kind of ways or different platform. So there'll be a blend of these different kinds of learning experiences for your child. So we can go on to the next list, or the next slide, excuse me. So on this slide, we just want to share with you some opportunities and supports that we want to make sure that you have access to as your child enters kindergarten. First of all, we know that in distance learning that the learning takes place primarily through digital means or online means. So that involves technology. So we want to make sure that our kindergartners have access to that vehicle, which is an iPad. So we'll be doing some outreach to see if your child is in need of an iPad, and we are happy to provide that for you all if that is the case. We also want to make sure that your child has access to good, robust internet access. So that we'll be reaching out to see if there are some additional supports that we can provide to ensure that that's the case. So more information will be forthcoming on that. You may also be wondering about childcare. So our district has partnered with Marin Enrichment, which is providing childcare to small groups of students in really safe small cohorts. And part of that child care will be support with distance learning opportunities that they're learning that they'll be engaging with in kindergarten, as well as other activities that are related to sports, games, and the arts. So they're a really nice partner for us. So that is a good resource for you to think about if you are interested in finding other childcare opportunities. Again, more information will be coming on that. We are partnering with a new vendor for our food services. If you are new to Kentfield School District, School Foodies will be new to you, but it is new this school year, and it's a lunch program that will allow us to have individually packaged meals. So we're making sure we're following all COVID guidelines, and students will be taking their lunch in a grab and go kind of lunch opportunity when we are in person. But before that, as we start off the school year, lunch will be available for students for purchase starting day one. So again, it's called School Foodies. We want to thank our PTA for partnering with us with this program, and again, information will be coming about that. In terms of enhancement and intervention, Marianne spoke to the fact that we have an enrichment block, we have a student support block, and these are opportunities for us to integrate and to weave in our arts program, our music, our art, our PE programs into the other content areas, as well as provide those supports for students so that we can really customize your child's learning experience. Really provide that support if they need a little extra time to learn something, or to go a little deeper and provide an additional challenge. So we're really thinking about that, even in this distance learning program, how we can best support the unique needs of every one of our students. And finally, parent and guardian education. Distance learning is new to many of us. It was new to us last school year, and we're still refining our practices, and our teachers have really learned a lot, and we know it's going to be much more robust and experience for all of our students. And for your children, we want to make sure that you have the supports that you can best help them as they engage in distance learning. So we are going to be offering different topics on how to support your child with distance learning. For example, how do you set up a learning environment at home that's ideal for your child to be able to learn best in distance learning? How do you log on to the different learning platforms that are going to be utilized, like Seesaw? That might be new to you, but that will be something that your child will be using. What are the kinds of ways that you can support your child as they're learning how to read or learning how to work through math problems? So we're gleaning, actually gathering ideas for different topics, and are excited to provide those parent education opportunities for you. And with that, I think we'll move to the next slide. And this is our opportunity for questions and answers, and we're happy to provide answers to you and give that chance to you at this point.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and stop share, and we'll call on hands. So just for everybody to have, we have about 39 folks on the line, and I'm not seeing any hands yet, but we do have some. Oh, there we go. We have a first hand before we go to the chat. So
Can I jump in for a second, Raquel? Sorry to
sure.
interrupt you. I see Lynn on here. Did Lynn get to be introduced when I was not here or not?
Oh no, I did not introduce her, but you can go ahead and introduce.
I am so excited that Lynn Bartha is here because she is my right-hand woman, and she knows more about Base-H than I do for sure, but especially for you new kinder parents and enrollment and things like that. So if you have some questions like that, Lynn could take those for sure. She's our superstar office manager. So Lynn, did you want to say anything?
No, I thank you for introducing me. Most of these parents I have been interacting through email. So it's actually nice to be able to let them see who I am.
Yes.
And for sure, if you have any questions about enrollment or how things operate in the school office or the school at all, please just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And it is wise if you email me with any questions or things like that, if you want to just CC Lynn, and that way we can both answer the parts that we know.
Great. So Paula, we'll call on her first.
Hi, thank you. And Lynn, thank you for being so responsive. I feel like every time I've emailed, you've been so fast to respond. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So one question, my husband and I both work full time and we're trying to plan for the year, and we've been able to, create a pod for our daughter, but the catch is it's probably not going to be something that we can align with the synchronous learning piece. So what's the flexibility there? And ultimately, does it just come down to a curriculum and ensuring that the child, is up to speed on that curriculum? And how do you manage that? Just because, we have full-time jobs, it's really hard to take 45 minutes here and there throughout the day to go do this. Granted, I know I probably have an easier task because it's kindergarten, it's only 3 hours, but still, I'm just curious how you're envisioning that.
So is your question about can your child and can you be doing things that aren't at that exact time that we have scheduled?
Yeah. So potentially in all these greens, I guess, and just looking at the sample schedule, if we can't be online at that point, is that going to be okay?
Yeah, we do have it set up so that obviously the best way would be if you could be your child could be available during that time, but obviously understanding that everybody has different situations. I know people are looking to Marin enrichment or other options for childcare during that time, so that another trusted adult could help guide your student during that time, because that is the time where there truly is the live instruction, and that's when the teacher is available, and we're hoping that by telling folks that they could try to make plans for having their child available at that time. However, obviously we would be supportive of anyone who needed some other kind of supports to help them with their child later in the day or later in the afternoon, as far as recorded videos or things like that. We haven't made commitments with the teachers as of yet to talk about is every one of their live instruction pieces going to be videoed and then posted somewhere, so that if your child did miss the math block, that you could go watch the video later. So that's something that, because you're asking this question and we know that there'll be other families like this, that we will have to discuss and make plans for.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, because I think there has to be a lot of flexibility baked in for everything, right? Just like COVID life is.
Yes. Flexibility's turned out to be all our important words. Flexibility.
All right, thank you. And then one more question. So in terms of Marin enrichment, because it's hard to plan until you know the details. Do you know how much flexibility there's going to be? Are they going to fill up? Can you sign up for a pod later? Is there enough space for all these kids?
Raquel, can you answer that? I don't know.
Yeah, Paula, thank you so much for that question. So we do feel quite lucky to have Marin enrichment on site. They've provided care to our Basage and Kent families for a number of years now, and are truly committed to supporting in any way in which they can. Just for you to have, so one is they are setting up a system where a child could enroll and have their they're going to be in little groups where they're able to access their distance learning. I'm meeting with their executive director today just to see where they are with enrollment. And we've posted in the letter that went out on Monday, it has a link to the application that you could complete to express interest in being part of that program. We've also partnered with the College of Marin to access additional facilities to support Marin enrichment and more families to get the services that they need, so we have enough slots. So I would recommend that you go ahead and submit that application. I think that they're wanting to be as flexible as they can with families so that you're able to get the support that you need. So we're really trying to meet all those that are expressing interest, be sure that they're able to get what they need.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Andrea.
Good morning. I So my question involves, is there going to be any attempt to meet with these children on a one-on-one basis? I have an incredibly shy child who I am pretty confident will not engage on this platform. Until she gets to know or feels comfortable with whoever she's engaging with. And I think that it could possibly help if the teachers are able to meet with the students, obviously with distance and masks, but I am concerned about her engaging in this remote learning.
Talia, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I can totally empathize with what you might be feeling, Andrea, and I just want to let you know that as teachers, it's like our priority to make sure that the students are feeling safe during this time. And if one-on-one meetings is something that would be beneficial for, did you say you have a son or a daughter?
I have a girl.
A girl. For your daughter, then we could absolutely make that a priority. And also we're in collaboration right now to find some time to meet the students and the families before school starts or during that first week to kind of get to know the students on a one-on-one basis before we kind of launch into the first whole class Zoom meeting. So yes, absolutely, that's going to be a priority.
Great. And then my other question is kind of a follow-up on the previous one. I currently have I have a third grader as well enrolled in a Marin enrichment pod, and I know that they intend to have about 7 kids per pod. And I think when I was talking with the director, it looks like at least 3 grades in the pod my child's going to be in. Are the times staggered where I think you call it where the learning needs to be done with a parent or guardian or a teacher aide, so that the staff member will be able to work with these children at different times when they need to. I hope that makes sense, but I'm just worried that if it's all at one time, it's going to be very difficult for one staff member to work with 7 different children, possibly in 3 different grade levels.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do think it'll be a challenge for anybody who's working with a number of kids at different grade levels. Some of the things that we've talked about when we've been creating the schedule is that kind of ease of, the times being on the hour, or we're rotating the blocks of the core subjects based on the grade level, but the whole grade level will be doing the same thing. So, if kids were in a pod of 3rd grade, but they all had a different teacher, that they might still be able to expect that the 3rd grade was going to be something similar. Math would be at the same time. But as far as the content areas for the exact live time, the teachers are still, they'll be meeting by grade level teams next week and the week after to really kind of flesh out exactly when and how all the live instruction will be. And then that will be information that's sent out from them. So I'm giving you the skeleton, but the meat on the bones for that is from the teachers. And when they get together in their grade level team, so there'll be more communication around when live instruction is exactly going to be and that kind of thing, so that someone who was working with a group of kids could make a schedule and plan.
Okay, thank you.
Andrea, let me just chime in really quick as well. In my conversations with Marin Enrichment, I'm meeting with them now, it feels like, if not weekly, twice a week, just to kind of continue to talk about what's the best way to set up their pods, right? So I think a lot of it is contingent on what their enrollment's going to look like. So if they are able to if they have a higher level of enrollment where they're able to make the pods by grade level, I think that that's what they'll work towards, and they won't have those cross grade levels, which will make it much more easier for them. It's all, they put it out there, and so they're just accepting the information right now. So just know that they are being super flexible and working with us, and we want to continue to stay in good communication with them so that they're able to make it the most conducive for our students as possible, if that helps.
Yeah, I think it would be great if they can do grade level, but my understanding in the conversations is that they need to pair siblings together. And I mean, unless you have twins, you're generally having siblings in different grade levels within a pod of 7. So I know when I was briefly talking with the director, it looked like we had a pod of kindergarten, first, second, and third in one group. And I'm a little concerned about a staff member being able to give the adequate and necessary attention in a pod like that. But if you guys are, as long as you're thinking it through, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, no, we hear you for sure, for sure. Diana.
Yeah, hi, I'm Diana Sloiko, a single mom with twin girls. We're really excited. We actually moved into the neighborhood from the city right before the COVID kind of hit us. And so we're kind of in the dark a lot, but we're very excited to start school. And my question is, and I'm sorry, I missed the very beginning due to work conflict, but I will listen to the recording. My question is regarding their iPads, and, for 2 of them, and they have different, personalities, of course, identical twins, different personalities. I assume it'd probably be ideal for each of them to have their own iPad.
Most definitely, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And the school district will support anyone who, I think we loaned out iPads in the spring, and if there's anyone who doesn't have access to a device, just connect with us. And I think there's a survey coming out, but we will support you in that too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Basic.
Go Basic.
Maria, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Maria Sweet. My question is related to Marin enrichment. So thank you, Raquel, for connecting me to Caitlin's fantastic. I signed up my daughter last week, but my question I think is more about how it's going to function. So hearing you guys present this morning in terms of the live teaching that's going to go on from 8:30 to 12 for the kindergartners. Honestly, I was like, wait, how is all of this going to work for Marin enrichment? Is the idea with Marin enrichment is the idea that they will basically bring a pod of 7 kids together there. I think it's going to be outdoors, but on campus. So at Basic, but outside, however, tables or whatever the setup is going to be, with each child will have their own individual iPad. Is that right? And then they will basically, so they're going to have a live adult that's going to be there in a sense, moderating or whatever the right term is, overseeing the children as each child has his or her own iPad, listening to the teacher instructor. I'm confused about the kind of, how are all the things going to work within Marin enrichment in connection to Basic and the live teaching? Does that make sense? Like, are the kids at Marin enrichment going to do live, or are they going to be on iPads watching the teacher remotely? That's what I'm confused about.
So they'll definitely be connecting with the teacher. I think that word moderating was a good word. I think that Marin enrichment is hoping to support students in their distance learning. Obviously, if a student needed extra support when they're not in the live instruction, they don't understand something, that there'll be someone available to ask questions of. But our plan is to provide a structured morning for your student in a combination of live instruction and activities that they do after they sign off and then coming back. And so the person that's supporting, I hope, would just be supporting. They're not having to say, all right, what should we do for math today? The teacher's directing that part.
So each child will be, let's just say there's 7 kids sitting there at this table at Basic outside. Do they all have like earphones on? Like they're all sitting with an iPad with earphones? Is that what, I'm just trying to imagine the situation. I'm like, conceptually, I can't wrap my head around it.
I'll take that. I think that it's, while we have our kindergarten team is going to be collaborating and aligning their program really tightly, there are different teachers. So each child in kindergarten will have their own, and each child that's participating in Marin enrichment will have a bit of a unique experience because they have a unique teacher. However, there'll be alignment across each grade level. So each child will have their iPad, they'll have their plan that's connected to their specific teacher, and yet those plans will be aligned. So Marin enrichment will really need to look at our our distance learning plans per grade level, and so that they can best support each child within that grade level.
Okay.
Let me chime in as well, just because there's a lot of questions in the chat, and I can speak from experience of last spring and what I saw happen in our pop-up childcare centers across our county. So where we were serving school-age children at 4 different locations. And so what was happening is there would be a classroom that could have between up to 12, no more than 12 students. And there were staff in there. They were not classroom teachers. They were instructional assistants and or people that had experience working in childcare environments. And the children actually were from multiple districts. They could actually even be from a district that was out of county. And they had their device and were able to access their distance learning. And they had people that were in there monitoring the students, and the teachers were deciding what times those children would be coming on or off to have their live interaction. So that was happening. I saw that happen across grade levels, across districts last spring. And so what we're fortunate about with Marin enrichment is that those are going to be focused on our Kentfield School District students. And so we'll have a little bit more of an alignment there. And it definitely is a little bit of a coordination situation, but are confident through our ongoing communication and work with them that we'll be able to massage it and be sure our kids are getting what they need, those that are getting to join that care provider.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Joanna.
Hi, thanks so much. I think I noted that there were 4 cohorts, and it looks like you have 3 teachers, assigned. Are you currently conducting a search for the 4th teacher? And if so, what kind of status could you share with us about that?
You want me to take that, Marianne? So, hi, Joanna. Thank you for that question. We had an increase of enrollment that happened towards the end of the school year. And so we've been directed to look internally at our staff and do some realignment so that we can have that 4th kindergarten class covered. So Marianne and I are in conversation about what that switch will look like. And we're hopeful to be able, not hopeful, we will be sharing the name of that 4th grade teacher in I would say within the next week or so. So we do have somebody in which we anticipate will be going into that position. We just are having to go through an internal process with that right now.
Great, super exciting. Thanks for clarifying. The second question is, I'm conscious this is such a huge change framework for everybody, and such a great job in the spring to pivot to the distance learning. Can you tell us what type of professional development or capability builds the district has provided the teachers to be continuously preparing for a year like this? And most of all, what was one of the most important, and how can we as a community help the staff and be good partners as we start this journey in these unprecedented times?
Wow, Joanna, thank you so much for that question and for the offer of support. That's great. We do need to work as a team, so that's nice to hear you say that. Our teachers this summer, so many of them have been already accessing on their own some professional development that they have found that they wanted or they needed, pursuing different applications or programs that they were interested in. However, now we're getting to the place where we're unifying our choices on platforms that we're using and programs that we're using, and then that will lead to the kind of professional development that we provide our teachers. We have a week before school starts where teachers are all there and working, and so we have a couple days of professional development planned then. But we also are allowing teachers to apply for professional development and materials. We have a chunk of one-time money that the board approved of recently that we can offer teachers to buy programs, supportive digital programs, any kind of professional development. So we've kind of got two, and they always have to be obviously directed towards our strategic plan and, you know, and our, what we're trying to accomplish in distance learning, obviously, the theme of the professional development. So I think grade level teams are, you know, also getting together and selecting programs and professional development that they think will help them. I'm sure Wendy can speak more to this because she's on the, she's the head of the approach committee in our instruction committee. And that's where they're really drilling down on making some commitments to the programs that we use and the training that we need. So Wendy, you wanna pipe in?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to add to that. So as part of our instructional strategies or approach committee, we have spent quite a bit of time actually yesterday listing different topics related to the digital resources that we are planning to continue to use, or new resources that we're bringing forward, and thinking about the different kinds of trainings, learnings, discussions that we would like to have or provide as options for teachers as we enter the new school year. We're also looking at what are identifying those best practices for using different platforms, or just distance learning in general, for engaging students, for touching, you know, maintaining connections with students, for maintaining high levels of rigor, for example. And so we're kind of right now creating that brainstorm list, and then we'll winnow that down to what we feel like is important to offer at that back to school week, as well as offer as we have those continual conversations once the school year starts, during that collaboration time that Marianne had touched on, and really leaning on our leads in our organization, our grade level leads, our tech leads, and so that they can help with facilitate those conversations, as well as instructional leaders like Marianne, me, and Grant at Kent.
Great. Yeah, it's great. It's great to hear the strategic piece because it's, anyway, just as a community member, and it's so important, I think, for engagement and just continuous learning as we all go through that journey. So great to hear.
Great. Thank you. And as a partner, you know, that's where parent education comes in. So if we're introducing a new platform that we didn't do in the spring, or if there was something in the spring that was confusing to parents, then our goal is to make sure that we provide training for parents so they feel like they have the tools at home to support their child.
Great, thanks.
Thanks.
Next we have Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are you? I had a quick question based on your experience from last year. What kind of parental sort of involvement or supervision do you recommend sort of during the classroom time?
Talia, do you want to take that? Just because I don't have it last year.
Yeah, so I think that we're very fortunate, well, not very fortunate, but we had the ability to kind of see what worked and what didn't work at the end of last year, and use that to make the program, our learning program this year, more robust. And I think that because we're starting the school year with distance learning, we had, like, as teachers, if we were in the classroom, we would be, you know, teaching the students how to line up, how to come into the classroom. And so we are going to offer that. We're going to be doing all of those types of lessons to help the students gain some independence in their online learning, and, you know, how to log in independently. And when we're on Zoom, like, these are the behaviors that we would need to be doing. So I think that the idea is that at first you might need more parental involvement during the first weeks of school, but the goal is obviously to help the kids gain more independence during their live teaching time, so that parent support isn't as much needed, and the students are taking ownership of their own learning and feeling good about that, right? So I think that because we're starting the year with distance learning, it's not like last year where we were in the classroom, all of a sudden we were distance learning, and the student, you know, it was so new and a little bit nerve-wracking for a lot of the students that this year we have a unique opportunity to kind of start off and do all that we can as teachers to help make it a positive experience for families and the students. Did that?
That was helpful. And are you assuming for the first couple of weeks of school, the parents are sort of on call for helping the child get, or do you want us to just not be around and engaged so that they start to develop on their own? Just looking for guidance here from your perspective.
I think it depends on the student, on the child. Like if you are available and you have flexibility with your schedule to kind of be on there and help them log in, but help them also take ownership of their own learning and be more independent, then that's the goal. But if you have a child that is having a really hard time, is nervous, then you might need to be more available to support the child. So I think it just kind of depends on the type of child that you have and your flexibility in your workday schedule too.
Thank you.
So it's 9:47 and I'm looking at the chat. Want to be cognizant of the time. So I think maybe a question, if there's anybody want to provide clarification again related to technology, because there's a couple questions about that.
I can add a little bit, and then I'm happy to have anybody else kind of chime in as well. So in kindergarten through second grade, our students use iPads. So that will be the primary device that students should be using to access their learning. And through the iPad, students will be accessing different platforms for their learning. So for example, they might be accessing a reading platform, say Raz Kids, where they might be reading some online books. And then there might be some discussion around that. Or other different tools. So all those resources and tools will be directed by your child's teacher with the way to log in and with the task that they need to do. And then there will be this opportunity for interaction through the vehicle of Seesaw. So you'll learn more about that. And that is a way for your child to interact with your teacher and for your teacher to give feedback to the child, to your child. So that's a little bit kind of very high level, but a lot more detailed information will be forthcoming from your child's teacher. Talia or anybody else want to add to that?
I just wanted to say that if you have trouble with connectivity at home, or you don't have an iPad that works, that we will support you in that area. We want to make sure everybody's outfitted and has what they need to be successful. So you could email me or Lynn, and I think the survey is coming out this Friday, maybe, Raquel, and that's part of the survey. And then also even on the part in the enrollment where you had to do the data confirmation, I think there might have been some questions there. So if we don't find you, please find us.
So it's almost 10 to 10, and so we're going to get ready to close out. As Marianne mentioned, we do have a newsletter that's being prepared to go out. Just based on where we are in the time of day, I think we're going to plan to push that out on Monday. That will have the survey information to get more details from families, as well as you received information about the data confirmation for your child that has some questions in there related to technology and connectivity. So lots of information will be coming your way, and so you can expect to see something on Monday. This recording as well as our presentation will be posted on our website today. And I guess the last question I do want to just touch on is related to the waiver. So many are hearing this week, our California Department of Public Health did release information in collaboration with the California Department of Education around applying for a waiver. And we are doing our due diligence on participating in the informational sessions to know what are the steps that need to happen. But at this time, what we know locally is that we will not be able to go to any kind of in-person instruction prior to September 8th. So we're really trying to focus right now on getting ourselves ready for the opening of school in this distance learning modality. But as we get more information, we'll continue to push that out to our families and let you know where we are in the process. And ultimately, it will be guided by our public health. And lastly, related to moving into in-person instruction, we really are going to go gradual. And as it is permissible, we'll be welcoming kids onto campus, but really trying to be sure that we have the safety of our staff and our students all top of mind, because we don't want anybody to be compromised. So we're appreciative of everybody's flexibility and willingness to work with us as we continue to navigate this new world that we're all in. So with that being said, I think I just want to extend appreciation to the team that's here today and got to speak out to our families, and also appreciation to our families, and welcome to Kentfield School District and to being a Basage Bear if this is your first time getting to partake. So I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything else.
Oh, just thank you. It was great to see all the people on the call, and I look forward to meeting everyone at some point. And just know that in any of the live instruction that I'll be popping in and meeting your kids and trying to connect with kids as best as I can, because that we all know that that's the hardest part for those of us who work in education, is not the direct contact with the kids. So
yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. We all really look forward to meeting you. All of us who are new, we haven't met many of our families quite yet, so we're really excited to meet you and meet your children and start building those relationships and partnerships. So looking forward to connecting.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to meeting some of your students in the classroom and collaborating and making it a positive experience.
Everyone, have a wonderful day, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.